All right, guys, this is Miss Katz, and today we are going to talk about proportions, okay? I'm going to actually give you some notes above and beyond what you have in your MSG, but we're going to just start with a basic introduction. So, a proportion, that's the word you're going to fill in here, is an equation that relates two equivalent ratios. Well, guess what? We have been relating two different ratios since we started this unit. We used ratio tables. We used simplifying. We did a whole lot of things where we looked at equal ratios, okay? We're not doing much different here today. What we are doing is finding ways to verify or to prove that two ratios are equal. And when they're equal, they are in proportion, okay? Now, I'm going to give you guys some notes that go above and beyond this. So if you've got your warm-up guide out, you can do that. You could also take these notes on your MSG. Just make sure you have some space. So the first thing we're going to do is the practice problem that they give us in your MSG is 1/2 equals 5/10, and we want to prove whether or not those two ratios are actually in proportion. If they're in proportion, they are equal. Now, I'm going to give you three methods. I want you to write them down with their titles as we do it, okay? The first method we're going to talk about is simplifying. If we are trying to prove that two fractions or two ratios are equivalent, that they're equal, how would we do that using simplifying? Anybody have an idea? Kyrie?
You would simplify from the number that they have in common.
Okay, and then what are we looking for in the end?
If it has the same answer as the other one.
You got it. If we take both sides of this equation, now an equation is something that has an equal sign between it. What it's saying is these two things should be equal. That's what we're trying to prove. Yeah. If we use a simplification method, we're going to take those two fractions and we're going to simplify them both. And if we do that and we end up at the same place, we know that they are in proportion, that they're equivalent. Okay? Now, is 1/2 able to be simplified? No, it's already ready to go. So we're going to keep that one. 5/10. Raise your hand if you can tell me a factor that they share. Kai? 5. So if I divide by 5 on top and on the bottom, I'm going to get what on top?
1/2.
1 on top, 2 on the bottom. These are equal, so yes, they are in proportion. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's method number 1. Everybody should have copied that example down.
I know that.
Okay? Don't tell me you don't know it. It's there. That's method number 1. We've been simplifying pretty much since you guys started school, right? We were doing division of fractions in Unit 1 where we had to simplify. We simplified all of the stuff at the beginning of this unit. Everything's been simplify, simplify, simplify. So I'm not teaching you a new method here. I'm just telling you that that's how we can relate these two ratios and call it a proportion. Okay? If they are equal to each other, they are in proportion. Any questions on method number 1?
No.
Okay. Let's take a look at method number 2. So method number 2, I'm going to call it the ratio table method. Okay, the ratio table method. So let's just say that we put these guys in a ratio table. So instead of 1/2 that way, we're going to make a box. We've got 1/2. We've got 5/10. Now, if these are in proportion, whatever we did to get from one number to the x on the top, we also should be able to do on the bottom. So how did I get from 1 to 5 on top?
5.
What 5?
5.
Times 5. So times 5 on top. She did say times 5. And if I can do the same thing on the bottom and get it to work out, what is 2 times 5?
10.
So since it does, in fact, give me the 10 I have, then yes, these are in proportion. Okay? So if I can do the same thing on the top as I can do on the bottom and I get equivalent ratios, we know that they're in proportion. Does that make sense? Proportion means equal. They're equivalent. They have the same relationship. So even though they look a little different, they represent the same amount. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
All right? I'm getting ready to erase because I'm going to show you the third method. Okay? And again, these will all be posted to the blog today, hopefully. Okay? The third method, I'm going to call it the butterfly method. And some of you guys probably saw this in elementary school. Okay, shh. All right, so in the butterfly method, if two ratios are actually in proportion, what we know is that if we multiply the numerator of one times the denominator of another, it should equal the opposite set when they multiply. So what is 1 times 10? And what is 2 times 5? Since those numbers are equal, we have a proportion. Okay? We just did that same problem 3 different ways. I don't particularly care which one you use, but you got to use something to generate an example so we understand where you're coming from. Does anybody not understand the butterfly method? All right, let's take that and apply that to some of the problems then, okay? I'm getting ready to erase. Hopefully you guys have taken that down. All right, so let's take a look at your MSG then. Look at the example they gave us for number 1 in the examples. Part of the issue I've got here is that we didn't give a reason. We just said that they are in proportion. I want this row, I want you guys to do the simplifying method. I want this row to use the ratio table method, and I want this row to use the butterfly method. I want you guys to use the simplifying method. Everybody do this problem. Let's see if we all get to the same conclusion. You guys are simplify, ratio table, butterfly, simplify. You guys are ratio table. Oh, this problem right here. This problem right here, what I'm pointing to. You guys are doing the ratio table method.
Just pay attention up there, you know what we're doing.
Tiziana, I'm coming to look at yours next. Hold on 1 second, guys. All right. I would like, Lynette, can you come up and show us what this looks like using the simplifying method?
Okay.
Talk it out because you got the microphone right here. Talk it out as you do it.
So how you're going to do this is you're going to simplify
Which one needs to be simplified?
6/10
You got it.
by 2.
Okay.
And how you know if this is correct, you're going to get the same answer as this one.
You got it. When you simplified, you found you got the same thing?
And it's called a proportion.
Yes, it is. Proportion. Nice, and she spelled it right too. Thank you.
I did? Oh
Yep.
my God.
I'll take the pen. Nice job. All right, Gabby, you want to come do it? Gabby's going to come and show us using the ratio table method. Shh. Remember that the microphone is live. Okay. Yeah, talk us through it. Okay, so she's drawing her ratio table. And guys, if you didn't do one of the other methods, you can try the other one while you're waiting. She's filling in all the numbers that she has. Okay? So 6 divided by 2 was 3, which means that if we do this right, if we take 10 and we divide it by 2, we should get 5, and we do. So yes, this is a proportion. Nice job. Ayana, come on up. So she's going to show us using the butterfly method. You can talk us through, okay? The microphone's live. All right, shh.
Okay, so
Try to stay close to the problem so you're on the screen.
6/10 3/5 times. So 6 times 5 equals 30,
Beautiful.
and 3 times 10 equals 30. So yes, this is proportion.
You got it. Beautiful. And you used the perfect words. When she did it, she got the same product when she cross multiplied. So she knows it's a proportion. All right. So let's do a couple of extra practice problems on the very bottom of your MSG sheet on that page. If you've already done some of those problems, use a different method to see if you can solve it a second time to prove you're right. Okay, so if you've already done them, that's great. If you've already tried some of them, use a second method if you can, okay? And we'll come back in a second. Those 6 problems on the bottom of your MSG. I'm going to sign off here. If you need the video, it'll be on the blog.